warm welcome. You're watching GRAVITAS with me, Raisha Saigal. On the show tonight, the 12-day Israel-Iran war is over. Both the countries are claiming victory, but on GRAVITAS tonight, we will tell you how Iran has emerged as a formidable missile power, surprising both adversaries and global powers. Also on the show, reports suggest that the United States of America has been quietly building up its military infrastructure 20 miles inland from Saudi Arabia's Red Coast. Finally, on GRAVITAS, we will tell you about Japan's Twitter killer, who murdered 9 people after he contacted all of them through this social media platform now known as X. All that and a lot more lined up for you on the show tonight. Let's get you started. The war is over. The guns have fallen silent. Israel and Iran both claim victory. Both the nations are now counting the costs, assessing the damage and preparing for the next round. Israel is a powerful nation with an advanced military, but there's next to no doubt that the 12-day Iran-Israel war has reshaped power equations. Iran has now emerged as the new global missile superpower. Our next report telling you more.
In a dramatic escalation that has rattled military planners from Tel Aviv to Washington, Iran has unveiled and unleashed its so-called monster missile. A weapon that not only dwarfs its predecessors in sheer destructive power, but also signals Tehran's arrival as a true missile superpower. The Khorramshahr-4, Iran's latest and largest ballistic missile, roared into headlines after being fired in a barrage targeting Israel moments after US airstrikes on Iranian nuclear sites. With a declared range of 2,000 kilometers and a staggering 1,500 kilogram warhead, this missile is built for impact and intimidation. But what truly sets it apart is its advanced payload. A dispersing warhead system capable of raining dozens of submunitions over a vast area, saturating targets and overwhelming even the most sophisticated missile defenses. This missile reportedly released a deadly shower of bomblets that pounded military and infrastructure targets across a 6-kilometer radius in Haifa and Tel Aviv, including the Ben Gurion Airport and critical command centers. The monster missile operates at blistering speeds, reaching up to Mach 8 within the atmosphere, and can be launched from mobile platforms, making it a nightmare to track and intercept. With this weapon, Iran has not only shattered the illusion of Israeli invulnerability, but has also redrawn the balance of power in the region. As the dust settles, one thing is clear: The monster missile has made Iran a force to be reckoned with in the world's missile order. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
The guns have gone silent and the ceasefire is holding. But beneath all this, tensions remain between Iran and the United States of America, between Iran and Israel and across West Asia. I say this because reports suggest that Washington has been quietly building up its military infrastructure in the region, preparing for any future conflict with Iran. According to the New York Times, long before the latest U.S. strikes on Iranian nuclear sites and Tehran's retaliatory missile attack, satellite images from early 2022 showed the first signs of a new American base. This base we're talking about is located about 20 miles inland from Saudi Arabia's Red Sea coast. The report says its early existence hinted at what U.S. military planners had long considered, a possible direct war with Iran. And for that, Washington needs more than just warplanes or naval power. The New York Times says that this base, known as Logistical Support Area Jenkins, is being manufactured as a major supply logistics hub located farther from Iran than most existing American bases, which means it is less vulnerable to attack. Until last year, the base reportedly remained mostly unused. But over the past year, it is said to have been expanded rapidly. Upgrades include new ammunition storage facilities, troop housing, and even enhanced security. While it's unclear if the base was used in last week's strikes, the report says it is likely to be crucial if the U.S. enters into a full-blown war with Iran or any of its proxies in the region. Remember, the U.S. already has several bases across West Asia, from small outposts in Syria and Iraq to massive installations housing aircraft and naval ships. In 2021, the Pentagon had plans to make bases along the Red Sea in a bid to service all these installations in West Asia. According to the report, the idea was to move some U.S. military infrastructure outside Iran's missile and drone ranges. And this base could also support operations against Houthi militants in Yemen. According to military experts, most U.S. bases along the Persian Gulf are within range of short-range Iranian missiles. In fact, we saw this on Monday when Iran targeted the Al Udeid air base in Qatar. Of course, the missiles were intercepted, and so targeting bases on Saudi Arabia's west coast would require Iran to use medium-range missiles, which are less accurate and reliable, and longer flight times reportedly give U.S. defenses a better chance to intercept the incoming missiles. Not just that, it also gives troops more time to take cover. However, the report notes that LSA Jenkins base is still vulnerable to Houthi attacks from Yemen. The Yemen-based group has previously targeted American Navy ships in the Red Sea with missiles and drones. And here's how this base is growing. When constructed in 2022, it was back then just 2 paved areas with some empty bunkers. By early 2024, satellite images reportedly showed shipping containers and tents and military exercises there. It revealed a bare bones facility of dirt roads and barbed wire. But the new satellite imagery reportedly shows a major transformation. Dozens of new structures, vehicles, paved roads, and expanded ammunition storage site, as well as white boxes stacked in rows that match naval missile canister dimensions. Government contracts also reveal more than $3 million spent since early 2024 on supplies, vehicles, and tents for the base. There's more. Social media videos show that the U.S. Army logistics units are working to get the site operational. According to the report, 2 more logistical sites have been built, that's in Taif and Jeddah, that is in western Saudi Arabia. They are smaller than LSA Jenkins, mainly used for munitions and fuel storage, with some paved areas that could host living quarters and air defense systems as well. The New York Times says that the plans are underway for an even larger installation at LSA Jenkins, including additions to a nearby airport, vehicle maintenance areas, more storage and facilities for troops. The Pentagon backs US President Donald Trump's view that the US strikes on Iran's nuclear sites caused severe damage. The US denies that Iran moved its highly enriched uranium before the strike under Midnight Hammer. But lingering questions remain. It appears now that the uranium could be hidden at a nuclear site so secret, so deeply buried, that it may be untouchable even by bunker buster bombs. Our next report telling you more.
A jaw-dropping video, the terrifying power of bunker buster bombs. The Pentagon showcased the power of its massive ordnance perpetrator during a detailed briefing on the strikes against Iran's nuclear program. A mountain of secrets rises in Iran's heartland, and the world's most powerful bombs may not be enough to crack it. As the dust settles from the largest US-Israeli air campaign in decades, intelligence agencies are sounding the alarm. Iran's nuclear ambitions are not buried, they're burrowing deeper than ever, shielded beneath a fortress of rock that even America's bunker busters may not breach. Experts now believe Iran might have secretly moved its highly enriched uranium to a super-fortified clandestine site known as Koh-e-Kolang Ghazla or Pickaxe Mountain. This secret site near Natanz sits almost a mile above sea level, allowing for underground chambers to be excavated to an astonishing depth, potentially twice that of Fordo. The timing is critical. Just days before the US strikes, satellite imagery reportedly showed suspicious vehicle activity around Fordo, hinting at a frantic relocation, while White House officials have vehemently denied that any uranium was moved.
So we were watching closely, and there was no indication to the United States that any of that enriched uranium was moved prior to the strike.
Experts and some European intelligence sources suggest otherwise, fueling fears that Iran's crucial 408.6 kilogram stockpile of 60% enriched uranium, enough for 9 nuclear bombs, was already spirited away to this deeper, untargetable lair. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
The United States has raised new concerns about China's fast-growing military activity in space. According to senior American defense officials, China is expanding its space war capabilities at a speed that Washington finds very concerning. General Stephen Whiting, the top commander of the U.S. Space Force, says that Beijing is using space to complete what's called a kill chain. It's a step-by-step procedure to find, track and strike enemy targets. The US, China and Russia are locked in a tight race to control the next frontier of war, space. Last month, China and Russia signed a memorandum to build a nuclear plant on the moon in a bid to power a lunar station by 2036. US has also reportedly started sharing intelligence with the UK and other Five Eyes nations, including classified information on Chinese and Russian space activity. And the US is also moving forward with the Golden Dome project. It is a $175 billion plan to build a satellite network that can detect and destroy incoming missiles towards the US by 2029. Now, this Golden Dome idea was unveiled by Trump back in May. The top commander of the US Space Force outlined 3 major areas where China is advancing quickly. According to him, the first is space-based targeting systems that can locate and follow US and allied forces in the Indo-Pacific. Now, these systems, he says, will allow China to carry out long-range precision attacks far beyond its borders. According to the US Space Force, by the end of 2024, China had over 500 satellites in orbit with intelligence, reconnaissance and surveillance capabilities. And of the 260 satellites China sent up just last year, more than 60 were designed for military observation. Back in February, Chinese scientists had reportedly built a satellite tracking camera so powerful that it can capture detailed images from more than 100 kilometers away. A level of detail 100 times better as compared to what can be seen with spy cameras and telescopes that use lenses. Now, the second concern, according to the US Space Force commander, it is China developing anti-satellite weapons. Now, these include lasers, missiles, and even satellites designed to attack other satellites. China has also built technology to jam GPS signals and satellite communication links. China can reportedly launch missiles from Earth to take out satellites in space. And it has tested such weapons multiple times over the past 20 years. Back in March, a top US Space Force commander said that China was seen conducting coordinated maneuvers with its satellites, practicing close-range satellite maneuvers, movements that look like China is training for space-based combat. The third major worry, according to the US general, is China's growing ability to connect its space technology with its Army, Navy and Air Force, perhaps making China's military more accurate, deadlier, and able to reach targets farther away. In 2016, China restructured its military focus more on space, with the PLA adding a military aerospace unit, and in April 2024, China divided the branch into three, which is an aerospace force, a cyberspace army and an information space support unit. While the US still leads in the number of satellites with around 8,000 in space, both China and US reportedly have roughly the same number of military satellites, around 250 each. Top US military officials warn that the gap in space power between America and China has narrowed sharply, adding that if the US does not act fast, they fear China could soon overtake America in space warfare. In April, the head of US operations for the US Space Force warned that China has already mastered advanced space weapons like directed energy and radio frequency attacks that pose a major danger to US operations in space. As the space race heats up, top American generals are increasingly voicing concern that America's long-time advantage beyond Earth just may be slipping away, with China all ready to fill the vacuum. Let's now tell you what else is lined up for you on the show tonight. We will tell you how the MI6 chief's controversial family past, revelations surfacing from German wartime archives, identifying her paternal grandfather as a Nazi collaborator. We will also tell you why millionaires are planning to leave New York after Zohran Mamdani's victory in the mayoral primary.
It's been an amazing period of time this last hour. There are people elated all over the country. I've seen such happiness and spirit. Sometimes you don't see that, but this case is very important. I was elected on a historic mandate, but in recent months we've seen a handful of radical left judges effectively try to overrule the rightful powers of the president to stop the American people from getting the policies that they voted for in record numbers. It was a grave threat to democracy, frankly, and instead of merely ruling on the immediate cases before them, these judges have attempted to dictate the law for the entire nation. In practice, this meant that if any one of the nearly 700 federal judges disagreed with the policy of a duly elected president of the United States, he or she could block that policy from going into effect or at least delay it for many years, tied up in the court system. This was a colossal abuse of power which never occurred in American history prior to recent decades. And we've been hit with more nationwide injunctions than were issued in the entire 20th century together. Think of it, more than the entire 20th century, me. I'm grateful to the Supreme Court for stepping in and solving this very, very big and complex problem, and they've made it very simple. I want to thank Justice Barrett, who wrote the opinion brilliantly, as well as Chief Justice Roberts, and Justices Alito, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Thomas. Great people. Thanks for this decision, and thanks to this decision, we can now promptly file to proceed with numerous policies that have been wrongly enjoined on a nationwide basis. And some of the cases we're talking about would be ending birthright citizenship, which now comes to the fore. That was meant for the babies of slaves. It wasn't meant for people trying to scam the system and come into the country on a vacation. This was, in fact, it was the same date, the exact same date, the end of the Civil War. It was meant for the babies of slaves, and it's so clean and so obvious. But this lets us go there and finally win that case, because hundreds of thousands of people are pouring into our country under birthright citizenship, and it wasn't meant for that reason. It was meant for the babies of slaves. So thanks to this decision, we can now promptly file to proceed with these numerous policies, and those that have been wrongly enjoined on a nationwide basis, including birthright citizenship, ending sanctuary city funding, suspending refugee resettlement, freezing unnecessary funding, stopping federal taxpayers from paying for transgender surgeries, and numerous other priorities of the American people. We have so many of them. I have a whole list. I'm not going to bore you, and I'm going to have Pam get up and say a few words, but there's really, she can talk as long as she wants, because this is a very important decision. This is a decision that covers a tremendous amount of territory. But I want to just thank again the Supreme Court for this ruling. It's a giant. It's a giant. And they should be very proud, and our country should be very proud of the Supreme Court today. And with that, I'd like you to listen to the words of Pam Bondi. She's an incredible Attorney General. We're very proud of her. And as you know, Todd Blanche is with us, and we have so many others that worked on this case and other cases. And I think they're doing a great job. Pam, please say a few words.
Thank you, President Trump. Thank you for fighting for all Americans. Americans are finally getting what they voted for. No longer will we have rogue judges striking down President Trump's policies across the entire nation. No longer. Today, in the 6-3 opinion, Justice Barrett correctly holds that the district court lacks authority to enter nationwide or universal injunctions. These lawless injunctions gave relief to everyone in the world instead of the parties before the court. As the Supreme Court held today, they turned district courts into the imperial judiciary. Active liberal judges have used these injunctions to block virtually all of President Trump's policies. To put this in perspective, there are 94 federal judicial districts. 5 of those districts throughout this country held 35 of the nationwide injunctions. Think about that, 94 districts.
And well, just a short while ago, that was the US President Donald Trump speaking from the White House after the Supreme Court backed his efforts to curtail lower court orders that, according to Trump, have hampered his agendas for months. Trump thanked the Supreme Court judges and said that his administration can now properly implement policies. We'll be tracking this story very closely, but for now, let's move on to other stories on GRAVITAS. All right, Israel's defense minister has revealed that his country actually considered assassinating Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, during the recent 12-day war with Tehran, but ultimately never got the chance to assassinate Khamenei. marking Israel's first public admission of having plotted the killing of Iran's supreme leader during the war. In multiple interviews with Israeli broadcasters, Israel Katz claimed that Israel searched extensively, but they never managed to locate the Iranian supreme leader. And according to Katz, Khamenei went into hiding deep underground, cutting all communication with top Iranian commanders and making it impossible to find him. When asked if the United States had approved Khamenei's assassination plan, the defense minister reportedly said Israel never needed anyone's permission for such an operation. On the 17th of June, US President Donald Trump, in a social media post, claimed to know Khamenei's exact location, calling him an easy target, but added that the US had decided not to strike, at least for the time being. A few days later, Trump backtracked, saying regime change was not America's goal. Now, throughout the war, Katz repeatedly called for Khamenei being taken out. In one address on June 19th, Katz said that the IDF was given clear instructions to neutralize threats, including removing leaders like Khamenei.
The goals of the war are to remove the nuclear threat, the threats of destruction, and to thwart the missile threats. And as part of this, the IDF was instructed and knows that, in order to achieve all the goals, such a man can no longer be allowed to exist.
And then on June 17th, Katz issued a direct threat, warning Khamenei that he might meet the same fate as Saddam Hussein, referring to the former Iraqi leader who was overthrown and executed.
I warn the Iranian dictator against continuing to commit war crimes and launch missiles toward Israeli civilians. He should remember what happened to the dictator in the neighboring country to Iran who took the same path against Israel.
Katz also confirmed yesterday that following the ceasefire, Israel has dropped its plans of assassinating Khamenei. Well, our next story is about Japan's Twitter killer. The country has carried out its first execution in nearly 3 years, hanging a man known as the Twitter killer who used social media to hunt down his victims. 34-year-old Takahiro Shiraishi was executed on Friday at the Tokyo detention house. Shiraishi earned his chilling nickname because he used Twitter, now called X, to target people who were vulnerable and suicidal, using his online handle, Hangman. Some viewers may find the following details disturbing. Shiraishi scoured social media platforms for those expressing thoughts of ending their lives. He would then message them, offering to help them die painlessly. But his real motive was darker. Once his victims arrived at his small apartment in Zama City near Tokyo, Shiraishi would strangle them, dismember their bodies, and store body parts in coolers, toolboxes, and containers filled with cat litter to mask the smell. His killing spree lasted 2 months in 2017. That's before the police tracked him down. Officers started investigating him after the disappearance of a 23-year-old woman who had posted suicidal messages online. Her brother managed to access a Twitter account and worked with the police to locate her, which led them straight to Shiraishi's apartment. Inside that apartment, police found a horrifying scene. 3 cooler boxes and 5 containers filled with human heads and bones. Police were able to identify 9 victims in all. 8 were women and there was 1 man, the youngest being 15 years old. And all of them had expressed a desire to die. Now, during his trial, Shiraishi admitted that he had no intention of helping them die peacefully. He said he killed them to satisfy his own desires as well as for financial gain. Shiraishi's lawyers argued for a watered-down charge of murder with consent, claiming that his victims wanted to die. But the court rejected this, sentencing him to death in 2020. Now, Japan's justice minister approved Shiraishi's execution, calling his crimes, and I'm quoting here, extremely selfish, saying that they caused shock and fear across the country. Families of the victims remain devastated by the loss. One father told Japanese media that he would have preferred Shiraishi spend the rest of his life in prison, reflecting on what he did instead of simply being hanged. As a country, Japan maintains the death penalty for serious crimes. Executions are carried out by hanging, but dates are kept secret until and after they are carried out.
Executions are carried out in high secrecy in Japan, where prisoners are not even informed of their fate until the morning of their hanging. Since 2007, following criticisms, Japan started disclosing the names of those executed and some details of their crimes, but disclosures are still limited.
The UK's new head of MI6 reportedly has a controversial family past. The paternal grandfather of Blaise Metrivelli, the MI6 chief, was reportedly a Soviet Red Army defector who later came to be known as a murderous Nazi spy chief called the Butcher. Metrivelli, who was named the first female chief of the Secret Intelligence Service on June 15th, previously led the agency's technology division. And until recently, very little was perhaps known about her background. German archives reveal that her grandfather was born in 1906 to a German-Polish father and Ukrainian mother. After serving a decade in a Siberian prison, he joined the Nazi Party soon after Germany invaded the Soviet Union. Documents show he defected from the Soviet Red Army in 1941 and began working as a Nazi informant. He was reportedly paid a monthly wage of around $340 in today's money for spying, and initially served with an SS tank unit which allegedly took part in massacres of Jews near Kiev. The MI6 chief's grandfather allegedly helped organize a 300-man Ukrainian police force that cooperated with Nazi death squads, with reports claiming that he participated in mass killings of Jews. The Soviets placed a massive bounty on him, around $274,000 in today's money, calling him the worst enemy of the Ukrainian people. His son, Metrivelli's father, was born in 1943. Metrivelli's grandmother fled to Britain and later remarried. Metrivelli's father reportedly took his stepfather's surname and built a career in the UK military as a radiologist and raised his family in Hong Kong. Well, the UK's Foreign Office reportedly said that Blaise Metrivelli never met her grandfather, adding that her ancestry reflects the chaos of Eastern Europe history and that her complex background has strengthened her commitment to protecting the UK against modern-day threats. As troop casualties rise, Ukraine is turning to a new strategy amid a manpower shortage, recruiting more women into its military. For the first time, a brigade in Ukraine has launched a special recruitment campaign to recruit women, hoping to fill crucial tech and combat support roles. Ukraine's 13th Kartia Brigade says it wants women to join the military in the fight against Russia. The brigade's video message that was shared across social media platforms says it is Ukraine's first ever military recruitment campaign that specifically targets women. The brigade says it invites women to join the ranks and says that they can thrive in tech-focused army roles where skills and strategy matter. That's more than physical strength. Now, the brigade was founded by volunteers in 2022 to defend against Russian offensives from the Kharkiv region. It has also been in action in Bakhmut and Soledar, among other key battlefronts. The new campaign aims to show that women are welcome and needed in roles that require technical skills and strategic thinking. These are tech jobs that the brigade invites women to fill, like, to name some, drone and ground robotic system operators, electronic warfare and intelligence specialists, intelligence surveillance target as well, acquisition and reconnaissance dispatchers, all involved in a NATO approach towards planning combat operations. The campaigners stressed that they really need women in STEM as they could make the brigade so much stronger in the fight against Russia. Around 70,000 women already serve in Ukraine's military, but many reportedly face barriers to education, career growth and frontline positions. But some units, like Kartia, say that they are working to change the situation by upgrading their internal practices to better integrate women into units. And with this new campaign, the brigade says that it hopes to show women that they are welcome and can thrive in different positions. The campaign organizers say that it's not about filling numbers alone. It's about bringing in motivated, skilled recruits to strengthen Ukraine's defenses. Ukraine's military says this move is about quality over quantity, bringing in highly motivated recruits to strengthen its defense against Russia. Ukraine is taking all efforts to get more people to defend the country against Russia, including offering cash bonus for a year fighting as well. Ukraine has enforced a military draft for almost adult men since the war started in 2022 last year. Kiev even lowered the recruitment age from 27 to 25 to strengthen troop numbers and manpower shortage on the battlefield. Ukraine is facing a shortage of motivated fighters, with the average age of soldiers on the battlefield now around 45. Officials say that their new youth recruitment schemes are an attempt to make the military more professional and sustainable, perhaps moving away from forced mobilization, which has so far faced public mistrust. But on the front lines, some commanders say that money alone is not enough to attract young recruits. They stress that instilling the motivation to fight for friends, family, and for the future is now proving to be a challenge. Others say that while some young men are joining for financial benefits, it remains a drop in the ocean as Ukraine continues to fight Europe's deadliest conflict since World War II with no end in sight.
We have won because New Yorkers have stood up for a city they can afford.
Well, days after winning the prelims of the New York's mayoral race, Zoran Mamdani is still dominating headlines, and how. And this time, apparently, as a potential roadblock to the city's business class. Mamdani's appeal is rooted in his mayoral campaign, which advocated bringing affordability back to fashion in New York, a move that has now threatened the very rich and famous of the city.
We have won because New Yorkers have stood up for a city they can afford. A city where they can do more than just struggle. One where those who toil in the night can enjoy the fruits of their labor in the day. Where hard work is repaid with a stable life. Where 8 hours on the factory floor or behind the wheel of a cab is enough to pay the mortgage.
And our report suggests that the CEOs and business leaders of New York are having a rather hard time digesting Mamdani's victory against former Governor Andrew Cuomo, many of whom have now expressed displeasure and are even thinking to leave New York for good. Even as Mamdani's surprise and sweeping win brings promises of a new future for the working class and the average New Yorker, this could very well turn out to be a nightmare for millionaires who have long oiled the capitalist machinery and thrived on it up until now, when Mamdani's socialist values are nudging to take over. And the hints are plenty to pick on. Take, for example, Mamdani's slogan of freeze the rent on stabilized apartments, which became a rallying cry in his campaign. He even talked about imposing a 2% wealth tax on New Yorkers who earn more than $1 million a year, besides promising to raise corporate tax from 7.25% to 11.5%, all of which could put a dent to the ambitions of the ultra-rich, who now fear that such measures could destabilize markets, impact the economy, and also make New York's business unfriendly. Many New York CEOs and financiers have also reportedly predicted the flight of capital to lower tax states like Texas and Florida, which could impact future investment possibilities in the city. According to Forbes, New York is home to close to 350,000 millionaires and 123 billionaires who are now mulling an exodus to escape the potential tax hike. Well, Donald Trump is in the headlines this week as the deadline for his trade negotiations approach. But now we take a look at an equally pressing matter that's drawing attention and scrutiny. Well, UAE-based Aqua One Foundation recently invested $100 million into Trump-affiliated crypto firm World Liberty Financial. Experts say the move is an example of how companies are aggressively courting the president and his power lobby. World Liberty Financial is no ordinary blockchain firm. The firm's ownership and revenue structure are deeply intertwined with the Trump family, which continues to hold a controlling stake. Despite claims of asset separation, now the lines between personal enrichment and public responsibility appear increasingly blurred. Aqua One's investment, which grants it major governance power in WLF, also follows a similar West Asian deal just months ago, suggesting a pattern of strategic alignment between foreign capital and Trump-connected entities. The attraction is clear. Investors are buying not just into a crypto vision, but perhaps into access, influence, and branding power with the Trump name on it. WLF's ambition to tokenize real-world assets, expand stablecoins, and build platform gains an aura of legitimacy among allies and partners. But the risks are equally apparent. Ethics experts warn that foreign funding in ventures tied to a sitting president's family opens the door to influence peddling, backdoor diplomacy, and policy-making conflicts. Trump family members remain active in WLF's operations, and the financial gains from token sales are directly tied to the business entities. Well, it's no longer science fiction, it's a scientific reality. British scientists are assembling human DNA not from cells, but from scratch. One day, a fully synthetic human may be built, molecule by molecule, and the world is split. Will it be a miracle or a monster? Our next report telling you more.
The line between science fiction and terrifying reality blurs. In a move that sends shivers down the spine, UK scientists have embarked on a project to create something which has never been done before. An artificial human DNA is being built from scratch, backed by a £10 million grant from the Wellcome Trust. Scientists at Cambridge's MRC Laboratory of Molecular Biology are now assembling the very code of life in test tubes. This isn't just about understanding life, it's about building it, molecule by molecule, potentially paving the way for designer humans and unleashing Pandora's box of bioweapons upon the world. The very building blocks of humanity are now being used as tools in a lab, and the consequences could be severe. But as the first artificial strands of human DNA take shape, so do the nightmares. Critics warn that the same technology that could heal could just as easily harm. The specter of designer babies and genetic enhancement is only the beginning. Rogue actors could hijack the science, crafting biological weapons or synthetic pathogens with terrifying precision. The ethical dilemmas multiply. Who owns synthetic life? Who controls the data? Could your DNA be recreated without your consent? The project's backers insist that confronting these questions now is better than letting the technology run wild in the shadows. But as the world watches, the sense of unease grows. Humanity is on the brink of a new era, one where the power to create life is matched only by the risk of unleashing something we cannot control.
Rockets from SpaceX exploding is no new affair really, but recently it has sparked a stronger reaction from Mexico, as Mexican president is considering to sue Elon Musk and his SpaceX over possible contamination from SpaceX rocket launches that sometimes rain bits of debris across the nearby Mexican border. Just last week, SpaceX Starship rocket exploded in a massive fireball at the company's Starbase facility in South Texas and cast debris on the beaches of the northern Mexican state of Tamaulipas. Even as no one was injured in the explosion, this has perhaps brought renewed focus to environmental concerns posed by failed test flights and exploding rockets, including high levels of pollution and its impact on local wildlife. And such events have been happening a lot. In late May, another SpaceX rocket reportedly broke apart during re-entry after a leak led to loss of control. Earlier in March, another flight was cut short minutes after liftoff by a hardware failure in one of the engines, and the list goes on. And from the looks of it, it seems Mexico has had enough.
Estamos por reunirnos, el gabinete Pepe está justo.
We are about to meet. The federal cabinet is coordinating this work due to the security and environmental impacts of these rocket launches. Not only this particular one, but rocket launches in general and the impact in Tamaulipas state. They are conducting a general review and determining which international laws are being violated. From there, we will begin a process, because there is indeed pollution.
Scheinbaum also said that she was looking into if SpaceX potentially violated international law through its testings.
We are not only going to conduct a review, but also look into everything related to the rocket launches that are taking place very close to our border and the impact they are having on the area. Under international law, we will file the necessary complaints.
In response, SpaceX in a statement said that there were no hazards to the surrounding area and no chemical or toxicological risks to Starship materials. Further, it has sought the return of the debris, saying that it is offering resources and assistance to the Mexican government in the cleanup operation. But what is space debris after all? Space debris, also known as space junk, is basically any piece of machinery or debris left by humans in space, including big materials such as dead satellites that have failed or been left in orbit at the end of their mission, and smaller ones like bits of debris that have fallen off a rocket. All space debris is a result of materials launched from Earth and remains in orbit until it re-enters the atmosphere. However, when it falls on Earth, the implications are different. All said and done, the tiff between US and Mexico could not have been more timely, as the SpaceX controversy comes at a time of rising tensions between both the countries over issues including migration, fentanyl trafficking, and the name of the body of water near Starbase. And now, this political fallout making things tense between Musk and Mexico. The question being, will this blow up in the coming days? If so, will SpaceX resort to protective measures to avert such fallouts in the future? Well, that we'll have to wait and watch. Yesterday on the show, we told you how China is on a recruiting spree, with top Chinese scientists returning home from abroad. And today, we will tell you how Trump's anti-Harvard campaign is fueling interest in UK colleges amongst Americans. Many high-achieving students are now looking across the Atlantic. Applications to UK colleges from US students are reportedly on the rise, with schools like Oxford, Cambridge and the London School of Economics becoming attractive options. Study Portals, a platform widely used to research colleges, and said that foreign student searches of UK colleges rose 10% this year through May, with the number of those looking at American schools falling by a similar amount. Apart from that, the focus amongst the Americans on UK schools was up 12%. Reports suggest that Cambridge University is engaging with top American colleges amid growing tensions between the Trump administration and elite US colleges like Harvard. While an influx would be a welcome shift for UK universities whose finances have been squeezed in recent years, let's now tell you why students are leaving the once preferred destination for the United Kingdom. The Trump administration has started slashing funding, revoking visa for foreign students, and trying to block Harvard's overseas students from entering the United States of America. It has also intensified pressure on top US colleges for failing to address anti-Semitism on campus. And all these factors are now playing out against the Trump administration and firmly in favor of the United Kingdom. And is perhaps an indication that Trump's unprecedented effort to reshape higher education around his America First policy may turn into a boon for the United Kingdom colleges. We all know that art inspires fashion and vice versa. But what if it ends up becoming an appropriation of sorts of culture, ethos, and one's identity? Italian luxury fashion brand Prada is now facing heat just for this very reason. During the Summer Men's Fashion Week in Milan, Prada featured its male models walking the ramp wearing Kolhapuri chappals, a traditional footwear of an Indian origin. But as the credits for the show rolled, India was not mentioned even once. And the reference was too hard to miss altogether, especially by the citizens of the Indian city of Kolhapur in Maharashtra and the manufacturers of this distinctive footwear who feel somewhat betrayed. At the alleged appropriation of their trademark footwear, the artisans allege that the feature not just closely resembles their product, but also violates its geographical indication status given by the government of India, which is aimed at protecting intellectual property of manufacturers as well as preserving its heritage value. However, for the shoemakers, it's way beyond that. For them, it's a question of robbing them of their livelihoods, besides hurting their pride and dignity, especially when leather flat sandals reportedly priced at rupees 1.1 to rupees 1.2 lakh per pair are being put up for sales with no acknowledgement or compensation provided to the artisans. A delegation of Kolhapuri chappal manufacturers met Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis with artists and manufacturers seeking legal action and formal recognition from the brand. Many netizens have also come out in support of the artisans, calling it a cultural theft. While Prada is yet to comment on this controversy so far, let's just take a step back here and really wonder and ponder. Be it fashion or footwear, there's a thin line between inspiration and imitation. And depending on what one wishes to choose can make all the difference. And with that, we slip into a very short break. Thanks very much for staying with us. You are watching WION The World.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
The stress of our world can take a toll on our physical and emotional health. Here, in New York's Catskill Mountains, lies a luxurious place of healing called WION Wellness Center. The WION Wellness Center provides 500,000 square feet of natural methods to manage diabetes, hypertension, chronic pain, obesity, depression, anxiety, and other conditions. We use the traditions of centuries-old natural science from India, yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy in personalized programs that help you take charge of your own health. A minimum 5-day stay is recommended for best results. Book now at yo1.com.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
We're giving an AI-generated video where we can analyze your credit history, your credit score.
It's all about now content. A lot of it is now digital. A lot of TV content is still being watched.
I think it's been a fantastic journey. We have succeeded in some of our original goals, which was to bring credit accessibility to both companies and individuals.
Key milestones of traction under your leadership.
Getting actually a personal check from Mr. Ratan Tata. We got an opportunity to get listed.
One of the biggest things that has changed in Razorpay over the last 5-6 years I've been is to be a single product, single business company to a multi-product, multi-business company.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide, because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
and welcome. You're watching WION World is One. My name is Mohammed Saleh, and let's start this broadcast by taking a quick look as to what is making headlines this hour.
So Iran wants to meet. As you know, their sites were obliterated. They're very evil nuclear sites. They were, now has been proven. We had some fake news for a little while.
The American President Donald Trump insists that Iran wants to meet for talks and says that he doesn't believe that Iran will go back into nuclear program and wants the IAEA to inspect the nuclear sites in Iran. Now, the American President Donald Trump hails the Supreme Court decision curbing the power of lone federal judges to block executive actions and vows to push through many more policies. The World Health Organization says that all hypotheses on how the COVID-19 pandemic began remain on the table, following an inconclusive investigation into the global catastrophe's origin. The Gaza Civil Defense Agency has said that the Israeli forces have killed at least 62 Palestinians, including 10 who are waiting to get some food and other humanitarian aid in the war-ravaged Palestinian-occupied territory by the Israelis. Now, Kiev says the Russian strike has killed 5 people and has wounded 23 others in Ukraine's industrial Dnipropetrovsk region, where Moscow has stepped up fatal bombardment. At least 9 people are said to be dead as floodwaters sweep away children in a river in northern Pakistan. With this, the nationwide toll has now risen to over 18 in the last 24 hours. And Alexandra Yala becomes the first player from the Philippines to reach a WTA final. The 20-year-old will have the chance to create more history in the Eastbourne finals on Saturday.
2-1, 7-5, 2-6, 6-3.
And Amazon's founder Jeff Bezos and journalist Lauren Sanchez are all set to tie the knot in Venice. The wedding party has now been moved to an isolated, less accessible part of the city due to some security concerns, and also to prevent the risk of protests. And millions gather for the annual Rath Yatra festival in Odisha, the oldest and the largest Hindu chariot festival, where huge wooden chariots carry the deities Jagannath, Balabhadra and Subhadra. So the 12-day long war is over. The missiles have stopped firing, and both Israel and Iran have claimed victory. Both nations are now counting the cost, they're assessing the damage, and they're preparing for the next round of hostilities. Now, Israel is a powerful nation with an advanced military that has the backing of the United States of America. There's no doubt that the 12-day Iran-Israel war has reshaped the power equilibrium in the region. Iran has emerged as a new global missile superpower, with many people taking note of how the Iranian missiles have performed against the very best Israeli and American air defense systems. Take a look at this report.
In a dramatic escalation that has rattled military planners from Tel Aviv to Washington, Iran has unveiled and unleashed its so-called monster missile. A weapon that not only dwarfs its predecessors in sheer destructive power, but also signals Tehran's arrival as a true missile superpower. The Khorramshahr-4, Iran's latest and largest ballistic missile, roared into headlines after being fired in a barrage targeting Israel moments after US airstrikes on Iranian nuclear sites. With a declared range of 2,000 kilometers and a staggering 1,500 kilogram warhead, this missile is built for impact and intimidation. But what truly sets it apart is its advanced payload. A dispersing warhead system capable of raining dozens of submunitions over a vast area, saturating targets and overwhelming even the most sophisticated missile defenses. This missile reportedly released a deadly shower of bomblets that pounded military and infrastructure targets across a 6-kilometer radius in Haifa and Tel Aviv, including the Ben Gurion Airport and critical command centers. The monster missile operates at blistering speeds,